Well, hello there, FlossTube. Today is Saturday, December 21st, and this is episode number 21 of my FlossTube videos. And I have my finishes to show you that I talked about in my last FlossTube. So I've got a lot of pillows to show you, and my framed pieces, and some of my past finishes and things like that, because, you know, I have it all out together because it is just a few days before Christmas. And so the first thing I wanted to show you was my Pineberry Lane finishes. And so these are, you know, I showed you, this is Merry and Bright and Sprig of Holly and Merry Little Stitches. And I talked about that last time in my video, so I'm not going to go through all of that. If you want the information on that, go ahead. I just kind of, you know, go ahead and watch my last FlossTube. But I just kind of wanted to show you my finishes in this FlossTube, and I have a lot of stuff hanging around here, trust me, so all in different piles, so I have no idea how long this video is going to be. But let me grab my little, let's see, I've got a little tub here. Look at this cute little Christmas basket here, and I just brought in the trims to show you what I used to finish. So this one, I just used mini pom-pom trim for this one right here, and I love how that looked. I grabbed, when I did the backs of my pillows, I just grabbed all my fabrics. This happens to be from my Mercantile collection. And so that's the little pom-pom trim on that. I love how that looks. Just very like little snowballs, or just very gingerbready and Christmassy, which is why I have these in here, just because I wanted to make a cute little, you know, layout for you too. But I wanted to tell you that I've displaying these with my gingerbread house collection. Even though there's not gingerbread on here, it just looks like it goes with my gingerbread house stuff. Maybe it's because of the candy canes, I don't know, and the colors and things like that. And so on these next three little pillows, I did the same trim on that. And look how cute that trim is. It looks like little rickrack, but it's not. It's this that I got at Michael's, just in like in the gift wrapping section. And I love how that looks. And I mean, there's 30 feet on that. And so I'll keep that within my little basket of Christmas trims. And so that's what I put on these three. I kind of wanted them to match. And I like how it's just a little bit of red popping around the edges. And so those are those pillows. And again, I'm putting them with my gingerbread, but that, you know, that's this year. That's where they are this year, but that could change every year. I have like little tables and, you know, like sofa tables and different things that I put different collections on. And this year they went with the gingerbread. And so I'm going to put these cards away. And by the way, so you know how I have my library cards on my frames or my pieces that I keep. When I have made these into pillows and I don't want to keep my library cards in there, then a lot of you are asking, what do I do with my library cards if I can't put them in the finished piece? And so I know I've showed you this before. This is my little file box that I have my library cards in. And so I just keep new library cards in here to, you know, fill out when I'm starting my stitches. But I have a whole pile of library cards that the cards are in, that I throw in there when they're finished into pillows and things like that. So I still have the information, and if I need to look it up, I go right to my library card file. Okay, and so these are the two trims that I used for there, and I think that I got this at Hobby Lobby. Okay, and I like how that is there. And so I'm going to clear these out. I don't even know, I don't even have an order of what I'm showing these in. I just grabbed them. So who knows what I'll be showing you next. Let's see. The next ones, okay. I want to show you these three. I've got these three in this little green bowl. this little enamelware bowl, and then I've got little wool balls here that look like little snowballs or something, but it's a great little filler. But this is what I wanted to show you that I had shown you before, right? It's the Companion Quaker Christmas Tree by Kathy Barrick, and this was the only one that I showed you last time that was green. And then I went, you know what, I can't just do one. I might just fit one other sampler in there. So, I mean, a little green sampler, what I'm calling sampler. And so I did this Noel one. Let's see what I've got here. This is by Shakespeare's Peddler. Sorry, I'm making noise with my jewelry touching that enamelware. Let me tell you the info on this because I've never talked about this before. So this is the Noel Tuet by Shakespeare's Peddler, and I stitched this on 36 count Aspen by Weeks Dye Works. And the floss for that, I used Gloriana for both of these new ones that I haven't shown yet. This is, let's see, this is Thistle Green, and that's what I used for this one. I love the variegation in this. When Christy came over Halloween and we went to Shepherd's Bush, I spent a lot of time on their silk wall picking up silks. And because silks are hard for me to purchase online because I want to see the actual real colors. So, you know, I always, when I go there, I always buy greens and blues and golds and reds and things like that so I can see the variegation. But I love how that looked. And I just finished these very simple, just with a little button. I have my jar of my grandma's buttons here. And I can take the button off. I can add more on. This one, I just put 3 buttons, and I thought, well, I could continue going all the way around on that if I wanted to. That would be kind of cute. And this one, I just used an old, you know, little safety pin. This is actually in my paper crafting stuff, my junk journaling stuff. I believe this is by Tim Holtz. He has little packages of, you know, rustic looking pins. And so this one I decided to do after I thought, okay, I'll just fit in a real quick one. Then I was like, well, I can't have 2 in a bowl, just 2. I need a 3rd one. And so this chart, I know I've shown you before, but didn't show you that I started it. And let's see, that's what I did. And this is And Rudolph by Lottie Da. And so I thought this was perfect. And I had a scrap of the Cafe au Lait left over from one of these other pieces that I showed you last time that fit perfect on. And so I just picked that up and I did those 3. And this year they're in that little bowl. And I used Forest and Gloriana for that. And look at the variegation on that. Oh, excuse me. I need to have a little sip of tea. All right. Okay. So that's what those are. Those 3, and these library cards can go in my file. And that was fun to get those done. I love, you know, my goal is to be working on a new, bigger little green sampler every year at Christmas. And when I say sampler, I mean, you know, all colors. Just because this has the alphabet on it, that's a sampler. This is not, but I'm still calling them samplers. Just so you know. All right, so there's those. Let me set that aside. And what I've got next is in this cute little box here are these 3 pillows. So this box, this is what I've been displaying them in. See how it's 2-sided right here. And these are by Lori, Not Forgotten Farms. And these are the little pillows that I finished. And I want to make sure I get them in the screen so you can see. And I used the pom-pom trim for this. And this is also a Mercantile fabric collection from last year. And then I used my Christmas fabric. No, this is not Christmas fabric. These are both from my autumn collection from this year. But, you know, I just chose a red and green and they look Christmassy enough. And I had a little piece of this ribbon from something. I don't know where I got it, but I had a stash of it, just like a yard long or something. And it's kind of linen-y with those little red stitches on it. And so I thought it was really fun just to put a simple bow on the top. I didn't want too much on these. Like I said, I kind of like my pillows plain most of the time, but sometimes I like to add just a little, you know, little something. And buttons are always kind of my go-to. And I don't know, when I got all my, I have a basket of my reds and greens and white ribbons and things like that. I was in the festive mood and decided to decorate. So I like just a few little touches most of the time, if anything at all. And so that's where those live. And I like how that looks. And so when I'm displaying this, you can't really tell because of how the camera is. This is kind of a, but I put jute across here in little clothespins, and then I can hang this one from there too. And so that's that one. Let me look around. Let's see what I didn't do on to pillows. Oh, I wanted to show you my book finish. Okay, so that one is this one. Look, I put my library card right in the book. This is Christmas Joy that I talked to you about, and I showed you the book, and this goes really nicely on this book. I just needed to add a little bit of my hometown holiday fabric on the side, and then I used a little bit of lace right there and a bow, and that's what I felt all that it needed. And so I'll just display it like that. And I love that. I love how that looks. And I can put it on an easel, or I can just open the book, or whatever I want to do. Now, I'm going to try to answer this question because I've had a lot of questions from my last video, and so I thought maybe I'd try to answer a few of them. And one of them was, I had a lot about finishing on a book, and you wanted me to show you how to do it. Well, basically, I already have shown you how to do it, because if you watched my lacing video, my framing video last month, then you know that's how I do it. So what I do is, this is one, also I brought that in to show you that I had done this in 2020, and this is January by Prairie Schooler, and I talk about all of that in past floss tubes and shown you this before. But all I do is just lace it. I put a piece of batting, just how I do with my lacing, and then I just laced it. So underneath, if this wasn't glued here, you could see that it's just the lacing on the back, and then I just simply, instead of putting it in a frame, you know, like my framing that I've showed you, instead of doing that, I just glue it onto the book. And this one I put some of my vintage trim around. Okay, so it's very simple to use a book for framing. And so there's that one, and that one as well from a past. I did bring in some past projects. Okay, put my library card there. Okay, and then this is the one that I showed you from, this is Coverlet Christmas, that I thought maybe I'd put my sampler on here, but my hometown holiday sampler, but when as soon as my floss tube was finished and I was putting things away, I looked at that and thought, that's about the size of that wood box that I got from Michael's that I showed you guys. And so I literally just laced that on a card. It was an unfinished wood box that I got from Michael's. If you remember right, I showed it to you. And I simply just painted it with acrylic paint that I had. I didn't even use chalk paint because I had a green color that was perfect. And then I put dark wax on it and really vintaged it up because I just thought that went perfect with that. And so this is by the Scarlet House again. This is Coverlet Christmas. And then I just took, this is from my Prairie collection, and this is from my current fabric collection, which is Hometown Holiday. And I just lined it with, I used poster board. This is how I line box. I just take poster board and then I cut it to the size needed. And then I cover the poster board with batting, and then I wrap the fabric around each piece and glue it down and then just put it in. Now I can still put a pocket on the back of here. I can just sew it and then sew a cute little pocket, which I probably will do. And then I can just glue it with fabric glue around the 3 sides, you know, so that I can tuck scissors in there or whatever. But this becomes like my little Christmas sewing box. Okay, so I really like how that turned out. I thought that was really fun, and I painted the hinges and all. Now, another thing I thought about doing, which I still might, is you can buy little feet, and you can buy little metal book corner things. And so I couldn't put the corners on here because that would not be able to open, but I could put the little metal corners here if I wanted to, and I could put little feet on there if I wanted it to, you know, be up like that. I don't know. So that's a really fun little project. And last time I was at Michael's, I was going to look on their unfinished wood aisle to see if they still sell these, but I forgot. So, but I assume that they do. And so there's that one. Coverlet Christmas. Let's see. Oh, and then here, this one is, let me take my library card. Remember, this is what I showed you that I was finishing Christmas list with this little board that I got from Hobby Lobby that was like a kitchen recipe board. And I just felt I was going to put maybe more fabric around it and some trim around it. And I just decided, you know what? I don't really think it needs it. I just kind of like how it looks with that little bead tassel that it came on like that. I just was careful when I painted around it, and I just painted it red. But the thing about it is I can always add trim around it if I want to, if I change my mind like this, because it's, you know, it's kind of got a thickness to it. I could, if I wanted to, very easily just glue that around there. And I may, you know, I may next year, I might do it this year. I don't know. I may just decide to leave it plain. And because I don't really think it is plain. There's a lot of stitching going on there, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And I just, sometimes anything that I put on my pillows or anything like that, I don't want to take away from the stitching. I want the stitching to shine and be a star. And any embellishments that I put with my framing or my pillows, I don't want it to take away from the stitching. I want it to complement it. And so there's that. Can't really show it, the whole thing, but there we go. I'm happy about that. Okay, stay there. All right, now I'm bringing another bowl in here. Let's see, and this is my Prairie Santas. And so this is kind of what I was talking about, how I wanted to do all of my Santas with the same kind of finishing, because, you know, I'm going to be doing at least one every year. And so I wanted the same kind of trim. And so I've put this little trim around all of them. This is from my Christmas collections, and from my hometown holiday collection. And this is from autumn. And I just chose to use light fabric, which I probably will on all of my Prairie Santas, and then use this little chenille. Now what this is something that I tea dyed. Is actually yarn. Let me show you the skein. And I don't know what brand it is. I've had it for a while, but look how huge this skein is. Okay. And so I got it on sale, and I believe that I either bought it at Hobby Lobby or Joann's in their yarn aisle. And then you can't really tell. I could have not tea dyed this, but I just wanted it a little bit warmer. So see, it does come in a bright white, and then is cream colored. This is the cream color that I bought, and I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but I have tea dyed it in different settings, like left it in there longer or brewed more tea, and I use black tea, not green tea, so that I can get that nice color. But I just wanted this warmed up just a little bit to be the same color as, you know, the off-white that I used, and look nicely with that fabric. So you wouldn't have to tea dye it, but there's a lot of yarn on this. And so I just know that I will keep this and with my cross-stitch finishing stuff. And then when I do another Prairie Santa or anything else, I mean, I can use this for other stuff, and I have before, but that's how I'm going to finish those. And so I love how these turned out. And I just have these right now in this little bowl of these little wool stockings that I have. And aren't these adorable, that I used for my little Advent calendar that I do this year. And I just thought, you know, it's stockings and the colors, red and white. And I wanted to do this chenille trim because it just reminds me of, like, you know, the fur on the trim on Santa's coat. And it just looks very Santa to me. And so that's how I finished those. And I'm going to continue finishing all of my Prairie Santas. And so let's see, any other pillows? I'm just going to grab what is in front of me. Oh, I did not want to forget to show you this, so I brought it out. Look what Christy stitched for me last year for Christmas. Is that not adorable? I don't know the name of it. I can't remember, but I'm sure it's by Plum Street. And isn't that so, so cute? It's Santa, and I love how he's holding the snowman to decorate the tree. And thank you again, Christy. So this was a Christmas gift from her last year, and I get to display it this year. Okay. So here I've got Whitaker, and I got him finished. And this is Whitaker by Stacy Nash. And I stitched his little tree that came with the pattern. And I just used the same linen to go on the back. And then I grabbed some wool and just kind of pulled that kind of tight, that wool there, scarf. And I love how he looks. Look how sweet he is. So he'll go with my snowman stuff. So that's Whitaker. And let's see, I brought a stack of snowman stuff in because I also have winter berries and pine that I finished. And I just used this simple little twill ribbon here and tied a bow and used one of my vintage buttons and used floss color from here. And this is from my autumn collection. And I know it's orange and gray and not red, but it just looked so good with this orange for the carrot. And I just really liked that print with it. And so that is winter berries and pine. And look how cute these two look together. They look like they're pals. Look how cute. All right, so I'm going to put him up there. And then this is, I just brought these in because these are all together right now. And so this is something that I finished a few years ago and shown you. This is December 25th, the Merry Christmas Pin Keep by Stacy Nash. And look how cute Whitaker goes with them. So cute. And that's some more chenille right there. And then this is by Lori, Not Forgotten Farms. And this is Parson Brown. And I stitched him in 2020. And I showed you that also on my FlossTube. And then this one is Stu Snowman that I stitched, oh, the date's down there, same year, 2020. And this is by Teresa Kogut. And I had finished him and shown you how I finished him into a quilt. I sewed real buttons on him instead of stitching them. And then I just sewed it like I do a quilt. And then I bound it. I didn't even quilt it because it's small enough. It really didn't need to be quilted. It just has batting in between. But by sewing these buttons on through the 3 layers, that kind of is the quilting and stops it from shifting. And I've shown you that before. I like to sometimes finish them into quilts, because little mini quilts like this, because there's so many different things that you can do that with this. You can set this up on an easel. It's still stiff enough that you can do that. And, or you could, like I've shown you before, when I first finished it, I strung a clothesline across a red wooden sled and then used mini clothespins and then just hung him on the sled and put the sled upright. And there's just, it's versatile, and you could still put him on the front of a book, just not adhere it to the book. You could just display it on the front of the book. And so that's kind of fun. So that's why I brought those in to show you, those little snowman that I have lots of snowman. I have other snowman. Maybe I'll bring those in and show you. Let me take these out. Bring in my other snowman. Sometimes I write in order of what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to be talking about, so I don't forget anything, but I didn't do that. I just had a few hours to film, and so I just grabbed my stuff, and here I am. So I just gathered everything around me. So this is my snowballs for sale, and he is displayed with my snowman. This is a pattern that I did a few years ago, and my publishers are It's So Emma, okay? And I love how, you know, I love these whimsical colors of him. And then this is my new cross stitch snowman pattern for this year, and this is called the Quilted Snowman, and he's got quilted snowflakes all around him and pine trees and riding in his little red wagon. And I love how these look together and with the other snowman. And I typically make, not all the time, but my cross stitch is usually designed after my quilt blocks. And so that's the style of my cross stitch, and I think it's really fun. Once in a while it's not after a quilt. Like this one is not after a quilt. This one I just drew and did. And so, let's see, I brought these in. This is downstairs and I didn't bring it up. I forgot, but this is Bringing Home the Tree. It's one of my past Christmas patterns, and this is Vintage Christmas Sampler. That is one of my past designs, which reminds me, I brought these in to answer questions because I keep getting questions about these bags. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm happy to, you know, answer questions again. So these, I particularly got a lot of questions about these two bags. So yes, this is a quilt block pattern of mine from one of my books. And the book that this pattern is in is Vintage Christmas. And in this book, I have the sizes for all of these blocks. I believe there's 42, and you can either make them in 6-inch size or a 12-inch size. And for this bag, I did the 12-inch size. And when I say I did it, actually Christy made this bag for me. So Christy sewed it in the 12-inch size, and this is in my Cozy Christmas fabric collection that I did several years ago. And so Christy made this bag for me. That's my grandma's gingerbread cookie recipe that I put in my fabric collection. And so that's where that pattern came from. Now, this one is a bag that I made. I've got Cassie's keychain here. And this is out of this book right here, this snowman, and this is in the 6-inch size. Okay, so there's the snowman there. And so I put him in the barn. Now, this barn is a 14-inch finished block. It is not a 12-inch. It's a 14-inch finished, and I have two different barns in my Farm Girl. This is my first Farm Girl vintage book that I did many years ago. And so in my books, in a lot of them, like I said, I have 6-inch size or 12-inch size. And so these barns, I have two different barns. And in the book, and sorry, I should have opened this page to where it was so I could show you what I was talking about. I've already passed my, let's see, Quilty barn and the silo barn on 78 and 80. It's just easier for me to turn to the page and show you. So this is one size barn, what it looks like. Okay, it looks like that. But then the next one is the silo barn. See, so I have patterns for this kind of barn where you put the quilt block, a 6-inch block. It fits a 6-inch block on the side of the barn. But my silo barns, with the silo here on the side, the quilt block goes in the front. And so that's where those come from. Okay, so I hope that answers your questions and clears that up. And, okay, back to, what was I talking about? Oh, I might as well show you this because it's kind of on the same subject. Oh, and I forgot to show you the cover of my Quilted Snowman cross stitch. That's what that looks like. Okay. And then I know I've shown you this before, but this is from my Quilty Barn Mix and Match pattern. Okay, so I had a lot of questions about when I talked about my floss that I use, that I keep, that I gather together for my quilty barn. Okay, so these are all the flosses that are called for. Okay, they're DMC on the back of my quilty barn mix and match. And I kind of did this pattern sort of like I do my quilt patterns, meaning all of my stitch cards fit in here. I did a quilt block for this, but I did the 2 barns, so you've got the pattern. So these have the same stitch count, and this has the same stitch count. So you can decide if you want to do all the same barns like this one, or just single barns, and then you can put my stitch cards that are all the same count inside of here. And so I picked the Snowman and put inside there from my vintage Christmas pattern that I just showed you. Okay, from right here, here's the Snowman that's from my vintage Christmas book, and I put him inside of here and put a few little trees. And so I brought this out to show you because I had a lot of questions. You guys wanted to know the colors that I use to keep, this is what I stitch my Christmas with, is because I have so many different colors. You can see my 347 red is almost gone, but of course I'll replace it because that's what I use for the Santa coats in my Prairie Schooler. And so that's why I brought this up to show you. That is the thread. You wanted to know the colors. And so that's where you get it. And this one is stitched on 40 count Old Town blend. And I love how that turned out. And so that goes with my Snowman stuff as well. And so hopefully that answers that question. And I have these all together. So when I said stitch cards, I don't know if you've been following me for a while, you know I have stitch cards, and I put them out quarterly. And I did a tutorial on how I finish these little cute little pillows in the back. But this is 2 sets of stitch cards right here. I started with set A and I'll end with set Z, and then I won't be doing any more. But this is set C right here. I just brought in the cover to show you. So these are from set C. These are Christmas themed. The little hat and the little ice skate. And then these are set G right here. The candle and these little presents and the little snow globe and then the wreath. And then I have got this one, but this is these right here, set S, are also Christmas themed. And I don't have these into pillows yet, but I'll show you them stitched because I'm almost finished with all of them, and then I'm going to do all of them into pillows and have them all together in one big pillow. I started doing that. I just haven't finished them all. I do have a big vintage bowl with my pillows in. Okay, and then my latest set, which I don't have the sample here because they're at my publisher's right now. It's So Emma, but this just barely came out. This is set W, and so these are Christmas themed as well. And so we've got the Noel, the chapel, the gifts, and a poinsettia. And so yes, I'm on set W, so that means I only have 3 sets of stitch cards left, and then I'm finished. And we're going to do something really fun when next year we're going to do, I have something planned that I've had drawn up for actually, quite a while. And when I say quite a while, year and a half. And now it's time to do them. We've got enough stitch cards left that we're going to have a fun stitch along using all the stitch cards that you want to, pick from and choose and make your own little stitches with. I guess that's all I can say. But that's going to be fun, and that's something fun to look forward to. Okay, so brought those in to tell you about that. Since I've got my framed pieces over here, let me talk to you about this. This is what I showed you last time too, my Hometown Holiday Sampler. And this is the only thing that I did not finish. Okay, so because I really want to finish this on a book. I wanted to, but then I got another idea, but I just didn't have time to execute that idea. But this is the sample. And then I showed you that I did it with silks on 36 count on a smaller count. And I really wanted to put this on a book. And I was looking for the perfect book that I wanted to do it with. And I really didn't want to add any other stitches. I could to make it big enough. And I didn't want to add fabric. I just, you know, within like a pillow or something. And so what I decided to do is just wait and finish it until I knew exactly what I was doing. Now, the other day I was thrifting and I found this. Okay, this is like this little picture frame easel. Okay, and let me just see if I can set it like that. If I finish this and you know, that's pretty close to the stitching, the shape is really pretty good in here. So if I lace this on a card and then lace it onto another card that has fabric around it, I think that would be so cute displayed on that. But I wouldn't permanently adhere it. I would just keep this laced. And then when I found a book, maybe I could put it on there. But with it just laced with a fabric behind it, because I feel like it needs some color, you know, if I'm going to put it on this. I just think that would be really cute. Sorry, I know that's really slanted because of the easel. But anyway, I just think that's going to be fun. So I probably won't get to it this year, but this is one thing I'm going to put away, I guess, unfinished. And I'll decide. I don't know, maybe I'll get some time and be able to finish it by the end of the year. But so I wanted to show you that. And then I want to show you this piece that I got framed here. Let me set that aside. Let me take my card out. And so I framed this with a Hobby Lobby frame. I showed you the frame and what I was going to do with it. And this is Peace on Earth by Samplers Not Forgotten. And this is how it looks framed. And I love the frame, and I love how it turned out. And so there's that one. And then I did the Baby It's Cold Outside in this light frame, and I love how that looks, you know, on that light frame there. And I just have my library card there on the back, so I have all the info, which I've given you a million times, so I know you have that info, but that is how that looks. Looks very wintry. Okay, what's over in that corner? I'm looking in different corners of what I haven't shown you. Oh, here's something over here I have not shown. Okay, so this is the Christmas fruit basket by Threadwork Primitives, and I was going to make it into a pillow. Okay, but I did not. So look what I did. I finished it using, okay, I forgot to grab it. Hang on. Let me put that there. I've got one over here. All right, so I showed you my crochet thread that I use for lacing. Right? Well, here's the spools. Okay, I save these. I am a paper crafter. I save all this kind of stuff. But as I emptied a spool, I went, I'm going to do something really fun with this, with cross stitch and a finish, sort of like, so, you know, it's like a drum, but it's not a drum. You could make it into a drum, use this as the base, and stuff this and make it, you know, into a pin cushion at the top. But I thought it would be really fun just to do a little container right here, and for display with some cute things. And so that's what I did. I just wrapped batting around it, and then I glued the edges around, and then I did poster board like here with batting, and then I did another circle a little bit smaller just to kind of protect that stitches, and then I did one just using the circles traced around on the bottom. Okay, and then I've got these cute little candy canes in here, but I can put anything in here, and I think that's fun. These are just plastic candy canes that you can buy for very inexpensive as a base, and then wrap it with red ticking fabric, red and cream color ticking, and that just looks so cute. You can put real candy canes in here or whatever, but I just thought that was a really cute little piece. So save your save your things. You can use them for finishing after you've laced. Okay, so I've got that there. I showed you that, showed you that, showed you that. I'm afraid I'm going to forget something. Okay. I've got this bowl that I grabbed, and because I've got my covered buttons. Oh, I've got these three framed. I'll show you these three framed pieces after. Let me set that there so I don't forget. So I've got this bowl here that I have some little quilted candy canes, Christmas trees, stockings, things like that, that I've purchased or made, you know, over the years, recently or long ago. And I just love things made from old quilts. And so what I just kind of like to display in my big bowl. But I put these covered buttons, I had all of my covered buttons in this jar, but I had to get a bigger jar. So I got a bigger jar, put my little samplers in a jar that I did the tutorial on before. And I did do some new ones, but I wanted to show you, this is the leftover scraps that I trimmed off of from my pillows that were too small to do anything else when I was finishing my pillows. But look at all these little scraps of linen that I can do little motifs with a red thread. And so these I have all together in a bag. And so I'll put them with my in a little bag and label them for the samplers in a jar. Okay. But I was able to do a few more. Like I said, I was going to. Sorry about that noise. I knew if I told you I was going to, then I would do it so that I would keep myself accountable. So this is what I did. I stitched these up, did that heart, did a stocking, did a little quilt, some mittens. I can show them to you singly, I guess. And another little quilt block there, and this cute little mug. And so what you can do is you just know whatever size button you have. These are all on 36 count. Whatever size covered button you have, like I talked about before in my tutorial, I know how many stitches that I can put on it. So I know I can't stitch, you know, more than 17, I believe, on this one high. And so you can just pick little motifs that you've used from, you know, that you found from your patterns that you just stitched before you put them away, or anything simply. You can just make them into one color. It doesn't have to necessarily be a red sampler. You can just look at it with kind of different eyes and see what that looks like. Okay, so I have these three pieces that I've shown you before. This is Jenny Bean's Christmas sampler. But for example, like look at this cute little block right here. Look at this little block right here. You could do this tree right here and just make it shorter. Like if this is too tall, obviously, you could maybe stop right there and just put a trunk on the bottom of that tree, and that could be a tree. And I've shown you my letters that I've done before that spell out Merry Christmas, and all my other ones. I've shown you those before, but I have many other Christmas ones that I've done in here, and I just thought that I could add a few. And so without getting those out, you can kind of see a few of what I have. And so I wanted to bring that out and show you. And I'm sure I've shown you this framed before, but I don't think I had shown you this one framed. So this is paper snowflakes. I've shown you this on my FlossTube, but I did not show it framed. And this is by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I did this on 36 count cafe au lait by Fiber on a Whim. And I stitched with most of the called for overdyes that, you know, I love how they look on the linen. And so that is framed. And this one is also by Brenda, With Thy Needle, and look how pretty they look together. And I've shown you this. This is that one that I showed you in my FlossTubes that I bought this square frame at Hobby Lobby, and then I finished it and framed it myself. And this one is Rose Hill Manor. Let me look at the card. I can't remember. Winter Rose Manor, not Rose Hill. Winter Rose Manor. Okay. And so that, they look beautiful together. And then speaking of Brenda and her patterns. So in my little bags here that I showed you, talked about in answering these questions, you know, so you know I keep my Prairie Santas in there, Santers, and my Snowman stitches in here. And so Christy and I called her and said, what should we start in January? Because usually that's when I'm doing my Snowman stitching. And I know I did show you this. So this is what I'm going to start in January. And Christy said yes, that she will start it with me. So this is Miss Snow Fairy. I think this is still available. It's one of her older patterns. It says 2009, but I'm sure that you can go on her website, and if it's available, it would be on her website. But I just think that I need to stitch this one to go with these two. I think it's so pretty. So that's going to be, and of course I'll talk about that in my January floss too, but I just didn't want to bring that up and invite you guys to stitch with me if you'd like to stitch with me. And I love having you stitch with me, and I love, you know, Christy, she's my stitchy partner in crime, and so I'm always calling her and saying, okay, what are we going to stitch next? Which brings me, I think, to the last of what I was going to talk about. I sure hope I haven't forgotten to show you anything as I'm looking around this room. I think I've pulled everything that I needed to, except for, I was going to talk to you about a few Christmas stitching plans. So remember the little red, my little vintage red suitcase that I showed you before, right? So when Christy saw my floss tube, we talked about what we wanted to start for our Christmas start or Christmas Eve start. And so I said, just pick one out of there, out of the suitcase that I showed. And so she picked Noel Sampler. So we're going to be starting Noel Sampler. She already had that kitted too, I believe. And so we're going to start that. And so you're welcome to stitch that with us if you have not stitched that yet. And we're going to stitch that for a long time. So that's a perfect opportunity to do that. And then for this year's finishing, which this year is almost complete, right? But this is my progress on Stacy Nash's gingerbread house sewing book. And that's what I've got done so far. I showed you that already, but this is the progress that I made so far. But I am going to finish this and then finish it into the sewing book before the end of the year. I want to finish that and get it done. And I just haven't had a lot of stitching time because my finishing time, that's what I've been doing during my stitching time, is finishing. And of course, you know, still keeping up with my work schedule and, you know, decorating my house. And my kids will be here for all week long for Christmas. And so that's going to be fun. And so I've been doing that, but I'm going to finish that is my goal. And then after I finish that, I'm going to pick this up and stitch on this exclusively until January 1st. So I'm hoping to get a bunch of this stitching finished before the end of the year, and then I'll pick it up again each month so that I can get that finished. And then I'm going to continue. Boy, these are all turned. I'll pick this up, you know, during that 25th. And when I say 25th, I always pick up a Christmas stitch on the 25th, but I'm usually stitching on that for a week or 2 or 3 days or something like that. I rarely just stitch it for one day. And so this is what, I don't think I did anything more on this from what I showed you last time. But this is Dasher and Dancer by Hobby House. And so yeah, I'll be finishing that, working on that all year long, so that I want it finished for next Christmas. But I'm hoping to get this one finished before next Christmas. So those are my stitching goals. And thank you for joining me for this Christmas edition of finishing. Let me pull this stuff in here so I can put it away right. And I hope that you have time to even do a little bit more Christmas stitching, like doing a little sampler in a jar. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the sampler in a jar, please just go back to my past floss tubes and look at my tutorials and what I've done for that. I think it's really, really fun. And it's just like a little bite of stitching sometimes if you just want to, you know, just do a little bit of stitching, or especially like a little motif. And it's kind of like journaling through cross stitches, just kind of memories of what you've stitched, just adding a little bit of something in there. And so I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and happy stitching. And thanks so much again for joining me, and I will chat with you later.